Congressman Khanna of California. He is one of 9 deputy whips on the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Thanks so much for being here, Congressman. So Speaker Pelosi just announced that she had adopted a proposal from the Congressional Black Caucus, and the proposal looks like this. There will be a vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill and a vote on the rule to allow a vote later on the Build Back Better Act. Then, in the intervening time, 7 to 10 days perhaps, the Congressional Budget Office would finish analyzing the Build Back Better Act. That could take 7 to 10 days, as I said. Then there would be a vote on the Build Back Better Act with the expectation that the moderates will vote for it if the CBO analysis matches what the White House analysis is. Why is that not good enough for you in the Progressive Caucus?
Well, Jake, first of all, what we want is to have the vote on both bills. That's what the president wanted. He wanted the vote on both bills today, and those votes, I believe, would pass. I mean, I think 6 people would not, when push comes to shove, actually vote no on the House floor. So I still believe they should put those for a vote. Now, in terms of the compromise, I have a tremendous amount of respect for particularly Whip Clyburn, and he says it could be forward progress. We're open to having that conversation. But the question is, if we have that conversation, we vote on the rule, how do we know that we actually have the caucus's commitment to vote for Build Back Better 2 weeks from now? It would take convincing the Progressive Caucus of that case. But I'm open at least to the conversation of how we get forward progress.
So do you understand how this might all look to an independent voter who maybe swings back and forth during election seasons and voted for the Democratic Congress right now, but maybe voted Republican in the last election? They might look at this and say, Democrats cannot govern.
Well, I'm from the governing philosophy, and I'd say to them, what we're trying to do is help the working class. We're trying to get universal preschool. We're trying to get tax cuts for the working class. We're trying to get child care to be affordable, and we will come together. We're very, very close. There's 6 folks who still have some concerns. I think it will be overcome. I'm open to Whip Clyburn's suggestion. Obviously, we're negotiating in real time. I have no doubt we're going to get this done, and what people will remember is when we deliver.
So Speaker Pelosi wrote a letter saying this is what she intends to do. She intends to put the bipartisan infrastructure bill out on the floor, and then there will be a vote on the rule for the Build Back Better Act, and everything will play out as I said earlier. You are telling me, though, you are suggesting, and Congresswoman Jayapal, the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, is suggesting that if she does that, at 45, 50, maybe even more members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus will vote against the infrastructure bill, right? If she brings it without Build Back Better being voted on at the same time, will you vote no on infrastructure?
I'm open to having that conversation. I think the chair would be open to having the conversation, but our recommendation is have the vote on both bills. That's what the president wanted. If there's an alternative path, let's have that conversation. You can't just say, let's announce the vote, and let's see if we can come to a consensus on how we move forward. But I hear people that we have to get something done. And I want to be very clear that progressives aren't standing in the way of getting something done. There were 6 folks who were standing in the way of that. And we're open to having a conversation with leadership about how to go forward.
Well, look, I don't speak for the Congressional Problem Solvers Caucus or the moderates, but my understanding is there was a study that came out from the University of Pennsylvania Business School, Wharton, right? And that study suggested that the White House analysis of Build Back Better wasn't quite accurate. And so members like Josh Gottheimer and other members of the moderate wing of the Democratic Party said, all right, well, can we get the CBO to score this? Which is a pretty basic thing to have happen when it comes to legislation, much less legislation this big. Can you understand why they would want that?
No, I can't, because the Joint Committee of Taxation has scored it. The actual deficit is the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That adds to the deficit. This actually raises revenue. And frankly, the economists working for the president are much better than many of the economists at the CBO. I mean, it's not like the CBO's analysis is that impressive. They missed some major things of the minimum wage. So I don't really get it. It's pretty simple, Jake. Do you believe we should help the working class and tax the very rich? If you're for that, then you should be for Build Back Better. If you're for Trump's vision that we should have tax cuts for the very wealthy and shaft the working class again, then don't vote for it. But don't hide behind CBO and this bureaucracy. That's not truthful. Take a position. Are you for the working class or are you not for the working class?
So, but just to be clear here, because I'm not the one that announced this deal, Speaker Pelosi is, if she goes forward with the plan right now, you will vote against it, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus will sink the infrastructure bill.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying she just announced that this is one intention. I'm going to talk to her. I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to Whip Clyburn, who I have tremendous respect. If they believe that this actually will guarantee both passing, I'm open to listening. And I think many progressives would be open to listening. But I believe that the best way is actually to put both bills on the floor, because push comes to shove. I don't think you can be a Democrat and vote against the president and vote against the working class. And I think those 6 folks may say something publicly, but when they have to cast that vote, I think they will be a yes. And that's my recommendation. But look, I have tremendous respect for the Speaker, for Whip Clyburn. If they think there's forward progress, I'm at least open to giving them a hearing.
But just to be clear, what the moderates are saying, these 6 members that you're talking about, is, and just so people out there understand, the narrow and the chasm between Democrats and Republicans is so narrow in the House, they can't afford to lose, what, more than 3 or something like that, right? So 6 Democrats voting no would sink it. But just so I understand, you're saying that they're not honest, that they're hiding behind this.
I'm not questioning their honesty. I'm just saying that they may be saying one thing, publicly threatening one thing, but when it comes down to voting, they may vote for the president. I believe they likely will do that. That happens all the time. I'm not questioning their integrity. I'm just saying, how are they going to actually vote when the vote is called?
But the 6 members, if they say to you, Roe, brother, I will vote for the Build Back Better Act as long as the CBO analysis resembles what the White House says it is, you don't have to worry. Will that be good enough for you?
But what does resemble mean? I mean, I don't think this thing is about the CBO. Tremendous economists have looked at this. Nobel laureates, Paul Krugman, Stiglitz, Jared Bernstein. Everyone knows that the bill is paid for. This is a values question. Here's the basic issue. Do you believe we ought to tax the rich, have corporations pay more taxes to help the working class with child care, to help the working class with universal preschool, to help have climate investments? Now, if you say, no, I don't think those are worthwhile investments, vote no. If you think they are worthwhile investments and we should increase taxes on the rich, vote yes. But don't hide behind bureaucracy, CBO. Everyone watching this knows that that's Washington speak. Let's be real here. Where do you stand? I have no problem raising taxes on the very rich to help the working class. Where do they stand? Just answer the simple question and vote your conscience.
I hear what you're saying, but when I asked you where do you stand, if Pelosi brings this to the floor, you won't answer that question.
Well, I haven't had a conversation on the procedural vote, but I am for the bipartisan bill, and I'm for the Build Back Better bill. I've said I'm going to be a yes on both. Now, whether we should bring both together today, or whether we should do a rule, and if we do a rule, what does that mean? And it's not just my vote; it's what others will do. You know, even if the Speaker convinces me that okay, this is going to make progress, does that mean that she's going to convince others? But I have always been of view that we have to deliver for this president. We have to come together. People are sick of the bickering, and I'm for anything that makes progress.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you for coming on in the thick of it. We appreciate it.